This video continues on from the PLX51PBM module configuration that's connected to a Siemens LT500 where we've already put the mapping into Studio 5000. We'll now create an add-on instruction to use that data. So if we have a look at our input data, we can see what we've brought in from the PLX51PBM module, and we've got our status, which shows basically if it's online to the instrument, if the data is exchanging, and all the relevant status bits. And then we've got our level, which is our actual live reading, and our level 2, which is our status word. So we can see also in the module data that matches. So we need to make our new add-on instruction by right-clicking our add-on instruction folder, and then we can give our add-on instruction a name. So I'm just going to call this inst pb lt500, and then I'm going to give it a description. You can put a revision notes in if you want, and you can change the major and minor. That's for if you do any changes, so it keeps the revision of the block. I'm just going to click logic to open up our ladder logic. And the first thing I'm going to do is just put an NOP so that I can use the empty rung and it's not going to cause an error. And I'm going to just put a title for the add-on instruction. So now I'm just going to add another rung. And I need to add some copy instructions. So I'll be bringing in the status word, I'll be bringing in the actual reading from the instrument and the status word from the instrument as well. And then I'm going to move in at the bottom the Profibus node number. So the first thing I'm going to put in here is my tag for the PLX51PBM module device input status. So what we need to do is make sure that we've got the same data type that the status is. I'm just going to copy that so that I've got it and I use the exact same data type. So it's basically going to pull in that status into our add-on instruction block. So I'm going to go new parameter. It's going to go in out parameter. And on the data type, I'm just going to paste that in so it's exactly the same and it matches. So I'm just okay that. Let's give it a description. Okay. So now I'm just going to add in the local tag. So we're going to copy that data straight into a local tag. And I'm just also going to call that PLX51PBM status. And this also wants to be the same data type. So I'm just going to paste that in again into here. So okay. And I'm just going to give it a description. Okay. So the length is 1 because it's the same data type going into the same data type. So there's no issues there. So I'm just going to now get the level in, which is our first lot of words from what we'd set up in the configuration, and it's coming over from the GSD file. So I'm just going to give this tag a name. So I'm just going to call it PLX51PBM device input word 1. And again, for the local tag, I'm just going to call that PLX51PBM input. And so I'm just going to make my new parameter. Again, this wants to be matching the data type, so it's a real for this value. And I'm just going to give it a description. Okay. And then my local tag needs to match the same data type, so that needs to be a real as well. Okay. And again, length will be 1, so we'll be writing a real into a real. So again, no problems there. And the length is always the destination tag. So as long as you've got enough space in the destination tag, you're fine. So on this one, we've got a single integer. So this is our status word. But word 2 on this one. It's a group of words, but I'm just going to call it that for the tutorial. You can call these anything that you prefer. So I'm going to new parameter. Again, so this one is a single integer. So I'm going to get that there. Again, any description that you prefer that makes sense to you is always the best one, really. So my local tag, I'm going to make this an integer, as I've had problems before in the past where if I've moved a single integer in, it's put a minus value in, but when moving it into an integer, it seems to have made it keep a positive value. And again, the length is 1 here because you're moving your single integer, which is half the size of an integer. So I'm now going to use the local tag with my status information in to get the Profibus node value from the instrument. And I'm going to look for station number. There we go. I'm going to add that in, and I'm just going to make a new output parameter which will write that number in so I can see on the outside of the add-on instruction block which node address the instrument has been given. So again, I'm just going to go new parameter and have it as an output parameter. I'm going to put visible so I can see it outside of the add-on instruction and give it a description. So I'm just going to call this instrument Profibus node address. And OK. So that's all of our input parameters getting pulled into the add-on instruction now. So the next thing we're going to want to do is add in the status of the instrument. So we'll use the status word we've pulled in and basically make sense of the numbers. So if we have a look at the instruction manual for the instrument, we can see our status byte, and we can see that we've got hex numbers for bad status, uncertain, and good status. And we can see here how they're split up. And we can see each of the individual hex numbers equal a certain situation from the good, uncertain, and bad statuses. So that's good to look into if you want to look more specifically into each status. First of all, I'm going to convert these hex numbers into decimal numbers. So our first number here is 24. So if we just put that in here and change to decimal, you can see that we get 36. So I'm just going to add a new rung here, and we're going to need a limit block. So we're going to put in our first 36 here, and then if we have a look back to see what our next bad value is, I'm going to put it back into hex on the calculator and type in 25, so that's 37, and then we've got 26, 38, and 27, which I'm going to guess is 39. There we go. So we know that from 36 to 39, that is our conditions for our bad status of the instrument. So I'm just going to put the status there, and if it's in between those two values, including those values, our status is going to be bad. And I'm just going to call that status bad and have it as an output parameter. So we can see this outside of the block. So we're going to need a new rung. And now we're going to need one for uncertain. And we're also going to need one for good. I'm just going to call that status uncertain. And again, this is going to be an output parameter. I'm just going to pull that status in, as that's what we're looking at, what's coming from the instrument, and then we compare it with our actual values. So our uncertain is 78 to 7b in hex. So I'm just going to convert those to decimal again. So that's 120. 121. 122. And 7b, I'm going to guess this is 123. Yeah. So now we know we've got 120 to 123. And that is our conditions for the instrument being uncertain for the status. So now we need to convert the good. So that starts at 128. And I'm just going to do the other one, which is 1 to 131, as they go up logically anyway. And I'm going to put this status good. Again, I'm going to have this as an output parameter that I want visible outside of the block. And OK. And I'm just going to put an NOP here, just so we've got the instrument status separate and a clear divide between the input data above. So now we can see that we've got all of our status values in there now. So any fault finding that needs to happen or any issues with the instrument, we can look specifically at this area and see what's causing it. So I'm now going to add in a new rung, and this will be for a device healthy check to check that the PLX51PBM module is communicating and data is exchanging and there's no issues between the module and the instrument. So I'm going to create what's known as a flag with an output to say that the device is online, and I'm going to have the data from the PLX51PBM module status values that we are bringing in to check that the device is online and that it's exchanging data. If these are not true, then there's an issue with either the configuration that's been put into the module and previously configured in the last video, or there's possibly a communications issue from the device and the instrument, possibly cabling, or also when the mapping has been imported into the PLC, it could have been put in incorrectly or not match the specific instrument type. So this is something that we need to check. And once you look through the status, we can see that obviously the device online, we need that to be a 1, and data exchanging, we need that to be a 1. A couple of other important ones, there's device error, but we'll get to that later. All the other ones are okay to leave because they're more for checking when there's other issues. Okay, so I'm just going to put in the 2 tags and put a dot after them. So online's the first one. If I put a dot and click the drop down, you can see all of the other ones that you can choose from, and we need the data exchange. So if those 2 are true, we then get our device online flag showing that it's healthy, and this is for the communication from the PLX51 module to the instrument, and all of the config is okay. So I'm now going to add in an instrument failed flag, and I'm going to say that only check this if the device online flag is on. So again, I'm going to make this an output parameter so I can see it outside of the block, and also it'll be in the data type of the block. So this can also be used to be checked for any process control that is related to the instrument. So we're going to need to now check if the device is healthy and there's no device error to the PLX51 PBM module. So I'm just going to drag the status from the module and find the device error. And I'm also going to need to add in the status. So basically, I don't really care if it's bad or uncertain because I want it to be good. So if it's anything but good, I'm going to need a normally closed contact and put status good. So if it's anything but good, the instrument is failed. Or if there's a device error, that flag will be generated if communication between the PLX51 PBM module and the instrument is healthy and we've got our device online flag. So our instrument add-on instruction is now ready to use. So I'm going to open instruments in our process area, and I'm just going to edit the top rung and put a description and just put instruments and NOP so I can keep that separate. And now we can drag our new add-on instruction onto our rung. So we've got our status, our word 1 and word 2. So there's a couple of question marks underneath those, which is not normal. So I believe those have been created as an input parameter and not an in-out parameter. So we'll go back to those and I can change those in the block. But first of all, I'm just going to put LIT001 and put level instrument in the description. And I'm going to get the status, so I'm going to just copy that and I'm going to just paste that in there. That's our first lot of words from the PLX51 PBM module. And now we need the level, which is the real value. So I'm just going to paste that in for word 1. And then word 2 being our status. I'm just going to copy that. That's our single integer. And I'm just going to paste that in there. And there you go. We've got no errors, so it's happy there. But I'm just going to have to check these word 1 and word 2. So I'm just going to edit these 2 tags and I can see that that's input parameter. both of these need to be set as in-out parameter, and it'll automatically change the outside of the block and correct this. And save, and we can see there, and that's all happy. We can see our status bad, uncertain and good, and device online and instrument failed on the outside. So I'm going to change the order of those because I want all the healthy things at the top. So to do that, you just right click and go to parameters, and basically just select the parameter you want to move and click move up. So I'm going to move device online, click OK, and you'll see that moves. That's now at the top. And I just want to have my status good underneath online as well. So when I'm online to the instrument, both of those two should be lit up green when the instrument is healthy and it's communicating. And there we go. So that's now in a new order. And I'm just going to put in a run comment and give it the title of the instrument and the tag, and press save. And if we right click on the block tag and monitor, we can see what's in the data type. So we have available to us our device online flag, our status good, uncertain and bad, and also our failed. So what's missing is the most important bit, which is our actual real value from the instrument. So we need to add that in now to get our process variable. So I'm just going to add a new rung, and I'm just going to put in a run comment and another rung, and I'm going to add a copy instruction. And I'm just going to put a branch around that and add a move instruction on the bottom and a normally open contact on the first one and a normally closed contact on the second. So we're going to put our device online flag, and we're going to say if our device is online, then we want to move our input value that we're getting from the instrument with our real value into a new tag that I'm going to have as an output parameter called PV for a length of 1, because we'll be moving a reel into a reel. This will make this available outside of the block to be used for control. And then I'm going to say if the device is not online, I want to move a 0 into the PV, because if it's not online, then the value is not trustworthy. So it could be reading any random number. So it's going to force in a 0 into the PV. And we're going to click save. So we can see there now outside the block we have our PV. And if again we monitor our tag, we can now see that we've got the PV, which is our real value, which we can use throughout our process code. So that's the end of our tutorial for the Siemens SITRANS LT500. Thanks for watching, and for more videos please like and subscribe.